Good morning, Southwest family. Ricky here, and welcome to Hope for Today. Here's the good news. If Jesus is all you have, Jesus is all you need. I'm going to say it again. If Jesus is all you have, Jesus is all you need. A lot of times when you're going through some stuff, like the stuff we're going through in our country right now, it kind of feels like your resources and things that you used to lean on and depend upon are kind of stripped away from you. Comfort, certain luxuries that we were used to, finances, and the list goes on and on. And sometimes it feels like things get stripped away from you. You're kind of backed into a corner. It seems like supplies are low and the opportunities you had yesterday are no longer here today. And sometimes you can feel perplexed and freaked out and stressed. But here's the good news. If Jesus is all you have, He promises that He is all you need. I want to remind you about what it means to be saved, to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. It means that come what may in our lives, the foundation of a relationship with Jesus will give you all the sustainment and all the peace that you need to ride the waves of the storm. Jesus promised that, in fact, in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. He said, everyone who then hears these words of mine and does them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And when the rains fell, and the floods came and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it didn't fall because it had been founded upon the rock. Jesus says this, I am the God who promises to hold on to your hand in the midst of the storm. Jesus says to you today, walking with me does not mean that there will be no storms in your life. It just means when storms come, I'm the foundation. I'm the rock that'll be with you, that you can stand upon when the storms come. Jesus basically says, anchor yourself to me. Story is told in 1979 of Hurricane David that was on its way to Miami. The hurricane had already claimed 2,000 lives in the Caribbean, and the Miamians were preparing for this hurricane to come. But there's a story told of some college boys along the Miami River who, instead of putting their dollars and cents into a college dormitory, had invested everything they had into a houseboat. I hate to call it a houseboat. It was more like a dilapidated shack on top of a raft, but it was all the home that they had. And as this storm was approaching, they just went out to the hardware store and they purchased spools and spools of rope. They get back to this houseboat and they tie this rope all over the boat on the river. So they tie it to the rocks alongside the shore, and they tie it to the trees, and they even tie ropes to the docks. They even tied rope to the boat itself. By the time they ended up with this spectacle, it looked more like a great big old spider web than anything else. At the same time, Old Man Phil was walking by. Old Man Phil was the Navy resident retiree, and he's smoking his pipe, and he's looking at this spectacle of these boys tying this rope to the boat. And he hollers out to the boys, don't tie her to the rocks. The storm will eat up the rocks. Don't tie her to the trees. The storm will eat up the trees. Don't tie her to the docks. The storm's going to eat up the docks. Befuddled by this, these college boys reach out and say, to what then do we tie her to? Old Man Phil cracked a smile and said, tie her to the anchor. Because in a storm, anchors don't move. Say a prayer and hold on. They ducked for cover. The storm came the next day. The next morning, the boys came out, and the rocks were strewn about across the shore, and all the trees were toppled down. The docks had almost completely imploded. But yet, when they looked out on the river, they saw their boat completely intact because it was tied to the anchor. And in a storm, anchors don't move. To whom is your heart tethered to in times like these? Jesus says, tie your soul to me, because in a storm, I'm a rock that won't move. That's hope for today. I'll see you next time.